Travelling between Switzerland and France has never been easier thanks to the TGV Lyria. This incredible double-decker high-speed train reaches speeds of up to 320 km per hour, and I'll be taking you with me on a first-class ride as we enjoy French speed and Swiss quality from Zürich, Switzerland's largest city, up to Paris, the capital of France. Now join me as the journey continues. This is Zürich Hauptbahnhof, the main transit hub serving Switzerland's largest city and located right in the heart of the city centre. The station here dates back as far as 1847 and the current building 1871, which recently completed a 5-year refurbishment when I travelled, meaning we can appreciate this magnificent megastation even better. Now, no trip to Zürich's main station is complete without showing off the array of fairs and events that happen here. As this video was recorded around Christmas time, there was the annual Christmas market on prominent display here. The atmosphere is great. We can also appreciate the design of the station as well as its, should we say, interesting sculptures as we wait for departure. It may also be worth stopping by the ticket machines or ticket offices if you need to purchase tickets or obtain prepaid ones, as well as visit the station's many shops and eateries. Whilst the TGV Lyria does have onboard catering, this is a bit more limited than regular Swiss trains, as we'll see shortly. Zürich Hauptbahnhof is one of the busiest railway stations in the world, with an impressive 150 million passengers annually and serving up to 2,915 trains per day, operating over several levels. The lower level typically handles through traffic and even includes the underground Shopville Mall, which has a much more extensive shop selection than the main hall we saw just now, and you can even make use of the church here, or Bahnhofkirche, available to all faiths. Most trains, however, make use of the 9 upper level platforms at the end of the Haupthalle or main hall, not only domestically in Switzerland, but also internationally, the majority being SBB trains like this Javruno train bound for Milan, which has already been featured on my channel before. The train we'll be taking today though is the 1134 TGV to Paris Gare de Lyon, departing from platform 11. Whilst TGVs have been running France to Switzerland services since 1984, the TGV Lyria service itself was first launched in 1993 as a joint operation between France's SNCF and the Swiss Federal Railways, the current name being adopted in 2002 and initially covering services between Paris, Lausanne and Bern. In the present day, the service has been expanded to cover the already existing TGV service from Paris to Geneva and the service to Zurich, which was launched in 2007 along with the LGV Est. Single-decker TGV Sud-Est and later TGV POS sets were previously used, but all services now exclusively use a dedicated pool of Alstom TGV Euroduplex sets, which were built between 2012 and 2013. These sets are authorised for use in France, Germany, Luxembourg and Switzerland for speeds of up to 320 km per hour, though this will only be reached on the French segment of our trip today, shortly after crossing the border. They also feature a special livery as well, which I quite like. What do you think of it? Each TGV Lyria train set features 8 articulated passenger cars. 4 are second class, 1 is a cafe car, and the remaining 3 are first class, though one is slightly different as we'll see shortly. For now, let's get on board. As I've highlighted in previous TGV videos, boarding on the duplex is not exactly the best, and whilst this is a common theme with TGVs in general, the stairs to the top deck don't exactly make it any better. As of March 2025, TGV Lyria has rebranded its travel classes. We'll be in first class, which is now branded Premier. This is laid out in a 2x1 configuration and features a stylish grey moquette and red carpet, which definitely gives it a more premium feel in my opinion. Whilst I have had solo seats on my past TGV trips, I've been assigned the window seat of this duo seat pair. Another complaint about the duplex and double-decker trains in general is the poor overhead luggage space on the top deck, but still, there are plenty of larger racks like this one in both the seating area and vestibules if you have any suitcases. Our route towards Paris only sees us spend an hour in Switzerland as we travel towards Basel and from there the French border. We then go on to call at Mulhouse before joining the high-speed line, with a further call at Belfort before our final stop of Paris Gare de Lyon at 15:38. Our TGV taking 4 hours and 4 minutes to cover a distance of 616 kilometres. And like Swiss clockwork, we depart Zurich on time at 11:34, ready to speed towards Paris. Well, at least not for now. The first part of our journey sees us travel through Zurich's suburbs, after which we're on conventional line running for our journey to Basel. High-speed rail hasn't taken off as much in Switzerland as it has in countries such as France, but the Swiss rail network is able and willing to provide a much more frequent service at all levels. Which system do you prefer? The great thing about double-decker trains is that if you're able to sit at the top, the views are pretty much unbeatable. Case in point, our view of the Limmat River and the Alps as we head towards Basel. As the scenery becomes more urban though, let's check out the interior of the Lyria Duplex. I honestly love the seats on the TGV Duplex, and the Lyria Duplex is no exception. It's very plush and spacious, perfect for the 4-hour journey to Paris this afternoon, with the exception of a lack of headrest cushion. Both seats have foldable armrests, the right hand side containing the buttons to operate the automatic recline on the seat, which I've always found generous on the TGVs. On that note, legroom is very good, with plenty of space to stretch out. Ignoring the footrest of course, which you may appreciate more if you're on the shorter side. At the duo seats in first class, there are two 220-volt power sockets, so you fortunately don't have to share, and with a huge tray table like this, there's really no excuse for not getting any work done whilst on the move. Above this is a storage net, and below the power sockets are small personal bins. Reading lights are located just below the overhead racks next to the windows, alongside coat hooks. And finally, there's a draw-down blind on the window which blocks the views if you need to for whatever reason. Not that there's many once we leave Switzerland. The TGV Duplex interior is simple, yet one of the best out there in Europe. Very comfortable and premium, even if it's a bit cramped inside at times. It's worth mentioning that the TGV Lyria has free Wi-Fi on board, and in both Switzerland and France it worked pretty well, despite border crossings often highlighting connection issues in one or both countries. This can be used to access the online portal, which even includes a journey tracker, and as can be seen, we're now fast on the approach to Basel SBB, even if we don't exceed 160 km per hour on this portion of the trip. Basel SBB is the border station not only with France but Germany as well, and is rather unique as despite the city being primarily in Switzerland, it also has suburbs in France and Germany. The station is named as such to distinguish from Basel Badischer Bahnhof, which is operated and managed by Deutsche Bahn in accordance with the German EU Customs Union, which the area falls under. As Basel SBB borders both countries, it operates under two different voltages. The 15 kV AC system used in Switzerland and Germany, and the 25 kV AC system used in France. As can be seen from the map, continuing on towards the French border means our voltage change is done just after leaving Basel, which limits some operators from continuing beyond here into France.
Ladies and gentlemen, to avoid losing any items, please make sure that your bags are not left unattended anywhere on the train. Thank you for your vigilance.
Also seen to the right as we leave the station is the TER 200 that runs between Basel and Strasbourg, something I really want to bring to the channel at some point as it's quite an interesting service. Not long after leaving Basel SBB, we waste no time heading towards the French border, and we can see the crossing by checking the overhead catenary as we change from Swiss style to French style masts. And bienvenue en France. While Switzerland isn't part of the EU, both Switzerland and France are part of the European Schengen zone, and as such there are no passport formalities when crossing the border. Very nice. After entering France, we continue along the upgraded conventional lines designed for higher speed operation before we arrive into Mulhouse, our first commercial stop in the country. If you're an enthusiast, you may have heard of this city before as it's home to the Cité du Train, one of the 10 largest railway museums in the world, which preserves historic SNCF rolling stock, including 2 world record-breaking TGV sets. I've been wanting to visit for years, but never had the chance. Have you visited before? We have a bit of time after Mulhouse before entering the high-speed line, so let's do a quick walkthrough. Unfortunately, the only way to move around on the duplex is via the upper deck, which I do think was a massive design oversight. So here's what the lower deck looks like. This is the exact same layout as the upper deck, but the views aren't as good as you'd expect. Also on the lower deck is where you'll find the train's dedicated wheelchair space, as well as the accessible toilet. Upstairs is where you'll find the standard toilets, and the one I checked out at least was fairly clean. Then again, with the exception of their non-TGV services, I haven't really had any cleanliness issues with SNCF. One level above Premier Class is where you'll find what was, at the time of filming, known as Business Premier, a concept which was later adopted by TGV Nuit to compete with the Frecciarossa and their outstanding executive class offer. As of March 2025, this has since been rebranded as Premier Signature, though the overall concept remains the same: priority boarding, a meal included served at your seat, a welcome drink, and access to the lounge at Gare de Lyon. Whilst I couldn't get a look inside when I took this trip, I somehow got sat here when doing my DIY Orient Express challenge that will be out later this year, and in all honesty, it doesn't seem like you get much for your money. Maybe I'll need to try it sometime to form a proper judgment. Speaking of food, there's an onboard cafe car located in car 14, and in all honesty, I found the selection here to be much better than on the standard TGV branded services. Maybe it's that Swiss quality? Anyway, I've linked the menu in the description, and here's an example of what you can get when ordering from the cafe. Safe to say the presentation isn't the best. As for second class, well now, standard on the TGV Lyria, this is the same as on the TGV Nuit, laid out in a 2x2 configuration with mostly airline seats, but also a small number of table seats. This is a good option, though it's much busier than first, as you'd expect. There are also the standard bench areas in the vestibules to avoid disturbing passengers when making phone calls. We're now entering the TGV Rhine-Rhône, which is where our TGV reaches its top speed of 320 km per hour. Our only stop on the line is Belfort-Montbéliard TGV, which is also our last commercial stop before Paris. This is one of those typical out-of-town high-speed stations that are all over France's extensive TGV network, and serves the cities of Belfort and Montbéliard, hence the name, though its location is in Meru, with the main station for the latter being a short walk away. Whilst used by trains to and from Paris, this is actually the first high-speed line in France to be presented as an inter-regional route, and despite only running from just east of Belfort to just east of Dijon, there were larger scale plans for the line which sadly never took off. Regardless, this connection still allowed for trains between Zurich and Paris to cut journey times by around 30 minutes compared to using the previous LGV Est. Our TGV is now at top speed shortly after departure, and whilst the weather isn't spectacular, the views are still pretty great from the top. We eventually reached the end of the high-speed line just outside of Dijon, and we soon passed the city's main station itself. The TGV Lyria making calls here on a limited basis, so no time to stop for Dijon mustard for us today. The line after Dijon continues towards our second and final high-speed line of the trip, the LGV Sud-Est. This was the first high-speed line to have opened in France when the TGV first launched between Paris and Lyon in 1981, though we only join it around just under half of the way through via one of its many entry points. This high-speed line is one of the busiest in Europe and typically sees over 300 high-speed trains using it per day in regular traffic. Most of these will be French TGV or Voyageurs services, but a small number per day are Trenitalia's flagship Frecciarossa trains from Paris to Lyon, Milan or Marseille, and who knows, maybe one day they'll even run to Switzerland. We're now exiting the high-speed line and entering the Parisian suburbs, which means our journey is coming to an end. Overall, the TGV Lyria is a fantastic way to travel between France and Switzerland, and I highly recommend giving it a go. The routes done are strongly competitive with flying, and personally I found it to be a step up to the service offered under the standard TGV Inouï offering, though I do wish there was a proper dining car and food service like on SBB's domestic and international trains. It would make it so much better. For this trip, I was travelling using a first-class Interrail pass, which required me to pay a €40 reservation, as these are compulsory on French high-speed rail services, though it's worth mentioning that taking the TGV Lyria domestically in Switzerland doesn't require any reservations in line with other Swiss intercity and high-speed trains. Looking around a month in advance, prices for the TGV Lyria from Zürich to Paris start at €49 in standard and €75 in Premier, with a whopping fixed €179 being charged for Premier Signature. So in my opinion, Premier is honestly your best bet with this train. We're now passing SNCF's Tech de Centre Sud-Est Européen, indicating we're on the home stretch to Paris Gare de Lyon. We arrive into the French capital bang on time at 15:38, showcasing some more Swiss punctuality. Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you taken the TGV Lyria before? How do you think it compares to the TGV Inouï offering, and has this video inspired you to give it a go? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. Just as well we arrived on time, as I now need to transit from my Eurostar back to the UK at Gare du Nord, and this gives me a bit of breathing space. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.